Have you ever wondered what secrets time hides in quiet corners of our homes? Spaces untouched for decades, holding whispers of the past, waiting for someone to listen. 8-year-old Emma had always been curious about her grandmother's old house. The scent of polished wood mixed with faint traces of lavender greeted her as she stepped into the attic, sunlight streaming through the small, dusty window. Boxes stacked haphazardly formed silent towers, each one promising discovery. Before we continue with this story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like the video. Oh, and don't forget to comment below where you're watching us from. We love to know that. Careful up there, Emma, her mother called from below. The floorboards are old. Emma barely heard her. She was already pulling herself up onto a trunk, brushing cobwebs away. That's when she noticed it. A small, worn wooden box, tucked under a pile of yellowed newspapers. Its brass latch was tarnished, and the surface bore scratches that spoke of decades of handling. With trembling hands, Emma lifted the lid. Inside, neatly tied bundles of letters appeared, yellowed with age, their ink faded but still legible. She picked up the first envelope, reading the elegant handwriting. "My dearest Margaret, even amidst the chaos, thoughts of you are my guiding light." Her breath caught. "Mom," she whispered, her voice small, almost afraid to disturb the words. Her mother climbed the attic stairs, wiping her hands on her apron. "What is it, Emma?" Emma held out the letter. Her mother's eyes widened as she took it in her hands, the past suddenly tangible between them. These are letters from Thomas," she said softly, voice trembling. "He was your great-grandmother's fiancé during the war. They wrote to each other every week." Emma's heart pounded. She imagined the young Margaret sitting by candlelight, pen in hand, pouring her hopes and fears into the page. She imagined Thomas, far across the ocean, reading the letters in a cramped, cold camp, clinging to every word. "Can we read them?" Emma asked. Her mother nodded. "Yes, but carefully. These letters, they carry memories, emotions, lives lived in fear and hope." Emma opened another envelope. The words jumped off the page. Declarations of love, hints of longing, small details of daily life, even amidst the uncertainty of war. The smell of old paper, the delicate creases from folded hands, the faint scent of lavender in some envelopes. It all made her feel as if she were reaching through time. Sitting cross-legged on the floor, Emma carefully untied the bundles, her mother beside her. For the first time, the past felt alive, breathing, whispering through every line. This is a story we have to uncover," her mother said, her eyes reflecting both nostalgia and determination. Emma nodded, gripping the letters tightly. She knew this discovery was the beginning of something extraordinary. A journey not just across oceans, but across time itself. The story of love, courage, and memory had chosen her to witness it. And as the attic's dusty beams of light fell upon the letters, Emma felt an unspoken promise. She would honor these voices of the past, and the echoes of Margaret and Thomas would finally be heard. Emma carefully unfolded the first letter, the edges brittle, the ink faded but still legible. Her fingers trembled slightly as though touching history itself could make it vanish. She held it up to the light, squinting at the elegant handwriting. "My dearest Margaret," it began, "even as the days grow longer and the nights colder, your thoughts bring warmth to my heart." Her mother sat beside her, a soft sigh escaping her lips. "This was Thomas," she explained gently. "He left for the war when your grandmother was just 18. They promised to write to each other every week, no matter what." Emma's eyes widened. She imagined her grandmother, young and anxious, clutching her pen like a lifeline, pouring every ounce of love and worry onto the page. And across the ocean, Thomas, in a uniform far from home, reading those words again and again. "Mom," Emma whispered, "he sounds scared, but he also sounds so full of hope." Her mother nodded. "That's exactly it. War changes everything. But hope is what keeps people going." Emma leaned closer, reading the next few lines aloud. The nights are long and the stars seem colder here. Yet I find solace in the thought of your smile, your laughter, and the letters that bind us across this endless distance. I pray that soon we will be together, and these words will no longer be the only way I feel you near. Her voice cracked slightly as she read. It's so sad and beautiful at the same time. Her mother gently took the letter, tracing the ink with her finger. It is, Emma. They were young and the world was harsh, but their love, it endured through words. Each letter was a lifeline, a reminder that someone, somewhere, was thinking of them, loving them. Emma hugged the bundle of letters to her chest, the paper smelling faintly of old ink and lavender. I want to know everything, she said softly, everything that happened to them. Her mother smiled, her eyes misty. Then we will find out together. There are places to visit, records to see, and memories to uncover. This is more than letters, Emma. It's a journey through the past, a connection to lives that shaped ours without us even knowing. Emma felt a shiver of excitement and reverence. The letters were not just paper and ink. They were echoes of courage, longing, and resilience. Each word carried the pulse of a love tested by distance and danger, a hope that refused to fade even when the world seemed darkest. For hours they read side by side, sometimes in silence, sometimes whispering thoughts and questions. Emma could almost hear Margaret's voice, soft and trembling, and Thomas's firm, steady words of devotion. As the attic grew dim with the afternoon light, Emma realized something profound. The past was not dead. It lived in these letters, in the spaces between the words. And now, through her and her mother, it could speak again. This is just the beginning, Emma whispered, and she knew it. The story of Margaret and Thomas would unfold, and she would witness it all, one letter at a time. The next morning, Emma and her mother sat at the kitchen table, the letters spread out before them like a map of the past. Each envelope carried a date, a place, a fragment of a life lived under extraordinary circumstances. Emma traced the addresses with her finger, imagining Thomas traveling across oceans and continents, his pen always ready to connect him to Margaret. Mom, Emma said, her voice full of determination, I want to see where he wrote from. I want to know what it was like for him there. Her mother nodded slowly, a reflective smile on her face. We can't walk in his shoes exactly, Emma, but we can follow the breadcrumbs he left. Letters, postcards, maybe even some old photographs. We'll uncover the story step by step. They began by organizing the letters chronologically. The earliest ones were light-hearted, filled with playful jokes and hints of everyday life before Thomas was shipped overseas. As the months progressed, the tone shifted. Concern and longing crept into the pages. Emma could feel the tension, the fear that Thomas carried, and the courage Margaret summoned to respond. This one's from Italy, Emma said, pointing at a letter postmarked with a smudged stamp. He writes about moving through towns he's never seen before, the smell of the streets, the strange sounds at night. He misses home so much. Her mother nodded. War leaves its mark everywhere, not just on soldiers, but on everyone waiting for them. These letters are proof of that connection, the strength it takes to keep hope alive when everything seems uncertain. Emma imagined the streets Thomas described, cobblestones slick with rain, lanterns flickering in the dusk, distant voices calling across alleys. She pictured him sitting on a crate, pen in hand, writing to Margaret as bombs and artillery roared somewhere far off. Each letter became a time machine, a window into moments both terrifying and tender. Mom, she whispered, do you think he ever thought he wouldn't make it back? Her mother's eyes softened, shadowed with memory. I'm sure he did, and Margaret too. But love has a way of keeping fear at bay, if only for a little while. That's why these letters matter. They remind us of resilience, of the courage it takes to keep living fully, even when the world is harsh. Emma held the Italian letter close, inhaling its faint scent of paper and ink. She felt a shiver of connection, as if Thomas's thoughts had reached across decades, straight into her small, eager heart. Let's see where the next letter leads, her mother said, helping her organize the stack. We'll follow Thomas's path, and in doing so, we'll walk alongside Margaret, too. Step by step, word by word, we'll uncover their journey. Emma's eyes sparkled with anticipation. The past was no longer distant. It was alive in the letters, and with each page, she felt herself becoming part of a story that was bigger than time itself. A story of love, courage, and the quiet strength of ordinary people in extraordinary times. And so, their journey began. Across oceans, across decades, and into the heart of a love that refused to fade. A week later, Emma and her mother returned to the attic, drawn by a curiosity that had grown with every letter. The wooden box had revealed its first treasure, but Emma had a feeling that there was more waiting to be discovered. Her small fingers sifted through the piles of old papers, newspapers, and forgotten trinkets, until something caught her eye. A slim, leather-bound book, its edges worn, tucked behind a stack of photo albums. "Mom, look at this," she said, pulling it free. The cover was unmarked, but the leather smelled faintly of lavender and dust, the same scent that lingered in the letters. Her mother leaned closer, her eyes widening. "Emma, this looks like your grandmother's diary. I never knew she kept one during the war." Emma's heart raced. She carefully opened the book, revealing pages filled with neat, delicate handwriting. Unlike the letters which had been exchanged with Thomas, the diary held Margaret's private thoughts, fears, hopes, and confessions that she had never spoken aloud. April 12th, 1943. Another letter from Thomas arrived today. I read it 3 times before I could sleep. His words are a lifeline, yet I am terrified. What if he never comes back? What if we never see each other again? But I must hold on to hope. For him. For us. Emma read aloud, her voice trembling. "Mom." She writes everything. Her fears, her love, even the smallest details about her day. It's like she's speaking to me. Her mother nodded, placing a hand on Emma's shoulder. That's the power of a diary. It captures not only moments, but emotions. You can feel what someone felt, even decades later. Emma turned the page, discovering Margaret's sketches of small things. A teacup on the windowsill, a bird perched outside the kitchen, sunlight spilling through the curtains. "She drew these?" Emma whispered, awe in her voice. She noticed everything. "Yes," her mother said softly. "Even during the darkest times, she found beauty. That's what people often forget about the past. Even when fear is present, hope and observation can shine through." Emma carefully traced the sketches with her finger, imagining her grandmother sitting at that same desk, the candle flickering, pen in hand, pouring her heart onto paper. Each diary entry added layers to the story hidden in the letters, revealing Margaret not only as a fiancée waiting for her love, but as a young woman navigating a world torn apart by war. This makes the letters even more special," Emma said. "Now I understand everything she felt when she read Thomas's words. I can feel her heart." Her mother smiled, eyes misty. "And that's the gift of these discoveries, Emma. History isn't just facts and dates. It's lives, emotions, and choices. Through these letters and this diary, Margaret and Thomas are speaking to us across time." Emma hugged the diary gently, feeling a connection that bridged decades. She knew their journey was far from over. With each letter, each page, she was uncovering a legacy of love and courage, and she had only just begun to understand its depth. The next morning, Emma and her mother packed a small bag with essentials: the letters, Margaret's diary, a camera, and a notebook for notes. Today was the day they would begin their journey, tracing the paths of Thomas's deployments, the towns he had written from, and the places Margaret had described in her diary. "Are we really going to see all these places?" Emma asked, eyes wide with anticipation. Her mother smiled, adjusting the strap of her bag. "We may not see everything exactly as it was, but we'll walk where they walked, see what they saw, and feel a little of what they felt. This journey is about connection, Emma. Connection to history, to courage, and to love." Their first stop was the local historical society, a small, quiet building lined with shelves of documents, maps, and photographs. The librarian, an elderly man with kind eyes, guided them to a section filled with wartime records. Emma carefully unfolded a map of Europe from the 1940s, tracing the towns and regions Thomas had mentioned. "He wrote from here and here," she said, her finger following the winding lines, imagining soldiers marching, trains rumbling, and letters being carried by hand or by post across oceans. Her mother read from the diary, "I wish I could walk these streets, Thomas. I wish I could see your world, even for a moment." Emma's gaze lifted from the map. Mom. She really wanted to feel connected to him, didn't she? "Yes," her mother said softly. Distance was cruel, especially during the war. But letters, diaries, and photographs were lifelines. They allowed people to remain connected, to share hope and love even when everything around them seemed uncertain. Hours passed as they sifted through records, uncovering glimpses of Thomas's path, letters marked with foreign postmarks, photographs of towns and villages, and even a few newspaper clippings mentioning the regiment he had served in. Emma carefully noted each detail, her small hand steady as she wrote, her imagination bringing every scene to life. As the sun began to set, they left the historical society, stepping onto the quiet streets of the present day, the past still humming beneath their feet. Emma felt a shiver of anticipation. Tomorrow they would travel further, following the echoes of letters and diary entries to actual towns Thomas had seen and Margaret had imagined. "Are we really going to the ocean?" Emma asked as they walked. "The letters. They traveled across it, right?" Her mother nodded. "Yes, Emma. And standing there, reading their words, we might feel the same winds they felt, hear the same waves, even if decades separate us. That's the power of a journey like this." Emma clutched the letters tightly to her chest, feeling their weight, not just of paper but of history, love, and memory. She understood now that their adventure was not merely about following footsteps. It was about experiencing the emotions, the courage, and the hope that had sustained two people in a world torn apart. And as they drove toward the first destination marked on their map, Emma whispered to herself, "We're going to find them. Find their story. And I'll make sure no one forgets it." The morning fog clung to the harbor like a soft gray blanket as Emma and her mother stood by the docks, the salty tang of the sea filling their noses. The ocean stretched endlessly before them, waves lapping against the wooden piers, carrying echoes of countless journeys past. Emma clutched the letters to her chest, imagining Thomas's words traveling across these very waters, carried in envelopes and hope. "Can you believe it, Mom?" she whispered. "These letters, they actually crossed this ocean." Her mother placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "I can." And each one carried more than words. They carried love, fear, courage, and the hope of being reunited. That's what makes this journey so special, Emma. We can almost feel it, standing here where history happened. Emma gazed at the horizon, imagining a young Thomas aboard a troopship, riding by the dim light of a lamp, glancing up at the same waves she now watched. She could almost hear the distant creak of the ship, the chatter of soldiers, the whisper of the sea blending with Thomas's pen scratching across paper. She opened one of the letters, tracing the words with her finger. "My dearest Margaret, the sea is vast and cold, but thoughts of you warm me more than any fire. Every night I imagine your face, your smile, and I am no longer far from home. Soon, my love, soon we will be together." Emma's eyes filled with tears. "Mom, he really missed her." "Yes, he did," her mother replied softly. "And she missed him just as deeply. Every word, every sentence is proof of the human spirit enduring, of love surviving distance, danger, and time." They walked along the pier, the letters fluttering gently in Emma's hands. Each envelope seemed to carry a heartbeat, a silent echo of hope that had crossed thousands of miles, defying war, storms, and uncertainty. Emma felt a strange kinship with Thomas, a connection not just across distance, but across decades. Do you think they knew, Emma asked, her voice almost a whisper, that someday someone like me would be reading these letters? Her mother smiled, a wistful expression touching her face. Perhaps they did, not in words, but in intention. They wrote to preserve something greater than themselves: love, memory, the essence of life even in the hardest of times. And now you're keeping that alive. Emma took a deep breath, the sea breeze filling her lungs. She closed her eyes and imagined the two lovers, Margaret in her small room, Thomas aboard his ship, both writing, dreaming, and waiting. And she realized with a shiver that the ocean was more than water. It was a bridge between hearts, between generations, between the past and the present. "This is just the beginning," she whispered to the letters. "We'll find their story. We'll bring it back to life." And standing there on the edge of the ocean, Emma felt the weight of history and the warmth of love carried across time. The journey ahead promised more discoveries, more emotions, and the realization that even decades later, hearts separated by war could still speak across the waves. Emma and her mother traveled to the small coastal town mentioned in the letters, the one where Thomas had been stationed for several months during the war. Narrow cobblestone streets wound past weathered houses, and the salty breeze carried the faint cries of seagulls overhead. Emma clutched the letters tightly, imagining Thomas walking the same streets, looking up at the same sky, writing to Margaret with longing in his heart. "Mom, it's like stepping back in time," Emma whispered. "I can almost see him here." Her mother smiled, her eyes soft with nostalgia. And Margaret, too. She imagined every street, every wave, every sunset. Now we're walking where their memories linger. They arrived at a small old post office, where the clerk remembered the war stories passed down through his family. "Ah, yes," he said, dusting off a ledger. "This town was where many soldiers were stationed. Some letters never made it home, some were delayed, but many did. There was one young man. Thomas, yes, he corresponded with a young woman named Margaret. They were quite devoted, even in trying times." Emma's heart skipped a beat. "It's them," she whispered. The realization that their love had survived not only the war, but the vast ocean made the words in the letters come alive in a new way. They walked to the town's small chapel, the same one Thomas had mentioned in his letters. The pews were worn, the sunlight filtering through stained glass, painting the floor in soft reds and blues. Emma could almost see Margaret sitting here, perhaps imagining Thomas across the ocean, praying for his safety, writing letters filled with hope. "This is where they would have met, right?" Emma asked. "Yes," her mother said. "And even though time has passed, we can feel the echoes of their presence. That's the magic of places that hold memory. They remember the people who lived, loved, and waited here." Emma carefully opened another letter. "I long to see your face again, Margaret. Each wave reminds me of you. Each dawn brings me closer in spirit, if not in body." Tears welled in her eyes. "Mom, they were so brave, and they never gave up." Her mother nodded. "That's why we're here, Emma. Not just to read the letters, but to honor the courage and love that they represent. And now, through you, their story continues. Their reunion, even decades later, is happening again through memory, through understanding, through us." Emma gently kissed the envelope and placed it back into the bundle. She felt an overwhelming sense of connection, to the past, to her grandmother, to Thomas, and to the universal strength of love that can survive oceans, war, and time. As they walked back along the cobblestone streets, the sun dipping low on the horizon, Emma whispered softly, "I think they're smiling, Mom. I think they know we're here, remembering them." Her mother reached over and held her hand. "Yes, Emma, and as long as we remember, their love will never fade." The town seemed to shimmer in the evening light, carrying with it the voices of the past, the triumphs of the heart, and the quiet power of letters that had traveled across oceans and generations. The next morning, Emma and her mother returned to the attic at her grandmother's house, determined to search for anything they might have missed. Dust motes danced in the sunlight streaming through the attic window, as Emma lifted an old trunk, revealing a hidden compartment beneath it. Inside, wrapped in a faded ribbon, was another bundle of letters and a small, leather-bound notebook Emma hadn't noticed before. "What's this?" Emma asked, her fingers trembling as she carefully opened the notebook. Her mother leaned closer, curiosity shining in her eyes. "It looks like more of Margaret's writings, but these are different. They might hold answers to questions we haven't even thought to ask yet." Emma flipped through the pages. Unlike the diary, which had been reflective, this notebook contained Margaret's private confessions and secrets, her fears about the war, doubts about the future, and even her small moments of rebellion and joy. Most importantly, there were letters Margaret had saved from Thomas that hadn't been in the main box. Letters that hinted at the hardships he endured, letters that revealed the true depth of his love. April 30th, 1944. My dearest Margaret, the battles here are harsh and the nights colder than I imagined. I think often of your face, of the life we dreamt about before all of this. I am afraid, but I will endure for you, for us. Please do not worry. One day all of this will be behind us, and we will laugh at the memories of our fears." Emma's eyes welled with tears. "Mom, he was so brave. And she kept all of this secret, all this worry and love. It's incredible." Her mother nodded, voice soft. "They both carried so much weight, Emma, but they also preserved hope. And that's the lesson here. Even in fear, people can find ways to love, to create, to leave a legacy that speaks across time." Emma carefully traced the lines of Thomas's letters, feeling the weight of each word. She realized that these weren't just letters. They were lifelines connecting two hearts in the darkest of times, preserved through decades so that someone like her could witness their courage and devotion. "They hid so much," Emma whispered. "All this history, all these emotions. We're the first to really see it, aren't we?" "Yes," her mother said, placing a hand over Emma's. "And now it's our responsibility to honor it. By understanding their story, we keep their love alive. By remembering, we give meaning to the sacrifices they made and the life they hope to build together." Emma hugged the bundle of letters to her chest. She felt the echoes of Margaret and Thomas's voices as if they were speaking directly to her, telling her that even in the shadows of fear and war, love endured. The attic, once dusty and quiet, now felt alive with the secrets of the past. Each letter, each page, each whispered confession was a bridge connecting Emma to a story of courage, longing, and hope. And she knew, deep in her heart, that their journey was far from over. The final chapters of the story still awaited discovery, ready to reveal the full measure of love that had crossed oceans and time. By now, Emma and her mother had pieced together much of Margaret and Thomas's story, following the letters across continents and decades. But it was in the quiet moments at home, sitting amidst the bundles of correspondence and the diaries, that the weight of their legacy truly settled in. Emma held a letter in her hands, the edges worn from decades of folding and unfolding. "My dearest Margaret, I long for the day when this war ends and I can walk by your side without fear. Until then, your love sustains me." She looked up at her mother. "Mom, they gave everything to each other, didn't they? Even when they were scared, they never stopped loving." Her mother nodded, a soft smile on her face. "Yes, Emma. That's the legacy they left. Not just the letters, not just the words, but the courage to love fully even in the hardest times. And now that legacy has reached you. You're part of it." Emma felt a warmth in her chest, a connection that spanned decades. The letters had become more than historical artifacts. They were living reminders of resilience, hope, and devotion. She realized that while the war had tried to separate Thomas and Margaret, it had never succeeded. Their love had endured, and through Emma, it would continue to inspire. Sitting together, mother and daughter reflected on the journey. Each letter, each diary entry, each secret revealed had taught them something profound. That love is not measured by proximity or circumstance, but by the steadfastness of the heart. Emma understood that Margaret and Thomas had left behind not only a story, but a guide for how to live with courage, hope, and empathy. "I want to share this story," Emma said, her voice small but determined. "Not just with our family, but with everyone. People should know about their love, their courage, how they survived even in the darkest times." Her mother nodded, squeezing her hand. "And you will. By telling their story, by keeping their memory alive, you honor everything they stood for. That's what makes history meaningful, connecting hearts across generations." Emma looked around the attic, the beams of sunlight catching the dust in a golden haze. Here, in this quiet, forgotten corner of the house, she had discovered something extraordinary, that the past is never truly gone. It lives on in letters, in memories, and in the people who take the time to remember. As she carefully placed the letters back in their box, Emma whispered, "Thank you, Margaret and Thomas, for your love, your courage, your story. I'll make sure it's never forgotten." Her mother wrapped an arm around her shoulders. "And that's the greatest gift they could have given us. A reminder that even in the most challenging times, love endures. And because of you, Emma, it will continue to endure for generations to come." In that moment, the attic felt less like a room filled with dust and more like a sanctuary of memory. Every letter, every word, every echo of the past had woven itself into the present, leaving a legacy of love that would never fade. The morning sun streamed through the attic window, bathing the room in warm, golden light. Emma carefully packed the letters, diaries, and photographs into the wooden box, each item a tangible piece of history. She could feel the weight of decades in her hands, not heavy but profound. The weight of lives lived, of love endured, and of memories preserved. "Mom," she said softly, "I think it's time we shared their story." Her mother nodded. "Yes, Emma. The letters were meant to be read, to inspire, to connect hearts across time. Now it's our turn to ensure their voices continue to be heard." They began organizing the letters, photographing them, and writing notes about each one. Emma read aloud as her mother typed, capturing not only the words but the emotions behind them. Each letter was a bridge, from Thomas to Margaret, from the past to the present, from one generation to another. As Emma held a letter dated July 1944, she felt a shiver. "My dearest Margaret, the war rages on, but your love is my refuge. Soon I will return to you and we will build the life we dreamed of. Until then, hold me in your heart as I hold you in mine." Tears blurred her vision. "Mom, they made it, didn't they? They survived everything." "Yes, Emma," her mother said softly. "They survived the war, the separation, the uncertainty. And now, through these letters, their love survives again. Through us, it lives on." Emma imagined Margaret and Thomas finally reunited, walking hand in hand, free from fear, free from distance. She felt the echo of their joy ripple through the room, as if the past and present were entwined. "We should make this a book," Emma suggested, determination in her voice, "so everyone can read it, so no one ever forgets them." Her mother smiled, tears glistening in her eyes. "That's exactly what we'll do. Their story will reach beyond us, beyond this attic, beyond our lifetimes. It will remind people that love can endure the darkest times, and that hope can carry anyone across oceans, decades, and hardships." Emma carefully tied the bundle of letters with a ribbon, just as Margaret had done so many years ago. "It feels like we're closing a circle," she whispered, "but also opening a new one." Her mother hugged her tightly. "Yes, Emma, the circle of love, memory, and courage never ends. It lives in those who remember and share it." As they stepped out of the attic, sunlight warming their faces, Emma felt a deep sense of peace. The letters had carried whispers of hope and devotion across oceans and decades, and now, through her and her mother, they would continue to resonate, inspiring hearts, teaching courage, and reminding the world that love, true and enduring, never fades. And so, Margaret and Thomas's story, their letters, their dreams, their courage, lived on, not confined to the past, but alive in the present, ready to touch generations yet to come.